The cake had been cut, the games had been played, and the backyard still smelled like vanilla frosting and summer grass. I watched my daughter Lily, her face glowing with happiness, as my mother Patricia stood up and announced it was gift time. She called my sister Gail's kids forward one by one. Tyler got a gaming console. Ethan unwrapped a shiny new bicycle. Madison squealed over an elaborate art set. Then Patricia dusted off her hands with finality. Lily stepped forward, hopeful. "Grandma, what about me?" My mother's smile turned ice cold. "You can call Ina Mom all you want, sweetheart, but you're not really family." The silence that followed Patricia's words felt like the air had been sucked out of the yard. I watched Lily's face crumble, her brown eyes filling with tears that she tried desperately to blink back. The other children stopped mid-motion, Madison clutching her art set awkwardly, Tyler's eyes darting between his grandmother and his cousin. The remaining party guests, neighbors, and a few of Lily's school friends began gathering their things with sudden urgency. I stood frozen for 3 seconds, maybe 4. Long enough for my father Frank to nod in agreement with my mother's statement. Long enough for Gail to smirk behind her wine glass. Long enough for every muscle in my body to coil tight with a rage so pure it felt like clarity. I didn't shout. I didn't scream. I kept my voice level and cold as winter. "Lily, sweetheart, go inside with Dad." Todd was already moving toward our daughter, his face red with anger he was barely containing. He scooped Lily up, and she buried her face in his shoulder, her small body shaking with silent sobs. The guests couldn't leave fast enough. I could feel their discomfort, their secondhand embarrassment, their relief that this wasn't their family drama. Within 5 minutes, our backyard was empty, except for Patricia, Frank, Gail, and Brandon with their 3 children. "What?" Patricia's voice dripped with false innocence. She spread her hands wide, playing to an audience that was no longer there. "I'm just being honest. That child needs to understand reality. She's not blood. She's not really your daughter, Ina. You can play pretend all you want, but facts are facts." Gail nodded enthusiastically. "Honestly, Ina, you're being too sensitive. Lily needs to develop a thick skin. The world isn't going to coddle her just because you adopted her. She needs to know where she stands." Frank grunted his agreement. "We're not made of money, Ina. Can't be expected to buy gifts for every kid you bring into this family. Our real grandkids come first." Every word was a knife. Every word was deliberate. This wasn't a slip of the tongue or a thoughtless moment. This was calculated cruelty, delivered with smiles and shrugs. "Get out." My voice was still quiet, but something in my tone made even Patricia pause. "Get out of my house. Get off my property. You are not welcome here." Patricia laughed, actually laughed. "Oh, come on, don't be so dramatic. It was just a birthday party. Out, now." They left, finally, but not before Patricia Stage whispered to Gail loud enough for me to hear, "She's completely overreacting. Always been too emotional. That's why she couldn't have kids of her own, probably. Too unstable." I watched them pile into Frank's truck. Watched Gail load her children into her SUV. I watched them drive away, still laughing, still casual, still completely unaware that they had just crossed a line I'd been holding for years. I stood in my empty backyard for 10 minutes, staring at the deflated balloons and half-eaten cake. Then I went inside. Lily was in her room with the door closed. I could hear Todd's low voice through the wood, comforting her. I walked past, heading to my home office at the end of the hall. What Patricia didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd been preparing for this moment for 2 years. Since the day we finalized Lily's adoption and Patricia made her first cutting comment. "Well, at least you finally got a child, even if she's not really yours." I'd started documenting everything then. Every snide remark, every exclusion. Every time Patricia would hug Tyler, Ethan, and Madison, then merely pat Lily's head. Every family photo where Lily was positioned slightly outside the group. Every Christmas where Lily's gifts were noticeably cheaper, smaller, less thoughtful. But I'd also been documenting other things. Things that had nothing to do with Lily. Insurance, I'd told myself. Just in case. I opened my laptop and pulled up the folder I'd labeled Family Records. Inside were 3 subfolders, each one packed with evidence I'd spent 2 years gathering. Frank's construction company had been cutting corners for a decade, paying workers under the table, falsifying safety inspection reports, claiming false deductions on tax returns. I had copies of everything. Payroll records from a disgruntled former employee, photos of dangerous work sites, bank statements showing cash withdrawals that didn't match reported income. Gail worked as an accountant for a medical practice. She'd been embezzling for 3 years. Small amounts at first, then larger. I had bank records showing deposits that didn't match her salary. I had copies of altered financial statements. I had emails between her and Brandon discussing their extra income. And Patricia. Sweet church, going, volunteer, at the soup kitchen. Patricia. She'd been shoplifting for years. Small things. A lipstick here, a scarf there. But consistent, constant, compulsive. I had security footage from 5 different stores. I had timestamps. I had everything. I hadn't planned to ever use this information. I'd gathered it as leverage, as protection, as a worst-case scenario failsafe. But watching my daughter's face crumble today, hearing Patricia's cruel words, seeing my father and sister agree with her, that was my worst-case scenario. I created a new email address. Anonymous. Untraceable. The email to the IRS was professional and detailed. I attached scans of Frank's falsified tax documents, copies of the table payment receipts, photos of OSHA violations at his construction sites. I provided dates, names, and exact dollar amounts. The email to Gail's employer was equally thorough. Bank records showing the embezzled funds, screenshots of altered financial reports, a detailed timeline of the theft. I sent copies to the CEO, the HR director, and the head of their legal department. Patricia's email went to the police non-emergency line. I included a compilation video of security footage from multiple stores, each clip showing her slipping items into her purse. I provided store names, dates, and approximate values of the stolen merchandise. Finally, I sent everything to a local investigative reporter who'd done a series on white-collar crime. Thought you might be interested in this story. Prominent local family involved in tax fraud, embezzlement, and retail theft. Documentation attached. I read each email 3 times before sending. My hands were steady. My breathing was calm. I felt no guilt, no hesitation, no second thoughts. They had hurt my child. They had deliberately, calculatedly, cruelly hurt my 8-year-old daughter on her birthday. They had made her feel unwanted, unloved, less than. I clicked send on all 4 emails within 5 minutes. Then I closed my laptop, went to check on Lily, and slept better than I had in years. The next morning started normally. I made pancakes for Lily, her favorite, shaped like hearts. She came down to breakfast with red, rimmed eyes and didn't meet my gaze. Todd hovered anxiously, trying to make conversation. But Lily only responded in one-word answers. "Are you okay, baby?" I asked, setting her plate in front of her. She shrugged, pushing the pancakes around without eating. My phone rang. Frank. I ignored it. It rang again immediately. Patricia. Ignored. Then Gail. Ignored. Text messages started flooding in. Angry, confused, accusatory. Frank. Call me now. What did you do? Patricia. Ina Elizabeth Hayes. You call your mother right this instant. Gail. You vindictive witch. How could you? I silenced my phone and focused on Lily. Do you want to watch a movie today? Just you and me? She looked up at me then, and something in her expression made my chest tight. Why are you being so nice? Because I love you. Because you're my daughter. Because you deserve kindness. Especially after yesterday. She looked back down at her pancakes. I'm not hungry. My phone was vibrating constantly now, with incoming calls. Finally, I answered. Frank's voice exploded through the speaker before I could even say hello. What did you do? The IRS showed up at my office an hour ago. They're seizing records. They're talking about auditing the last 10 years. What did you do, Ina? Before I could respond, he hung up and Gail was calling. I answered. I've been fired. They escorted me out of the building like a criminal. They're pressing charges. Embezzlement charges, Ina. How could you do this to me? How could you do this to my children? Patricia's call came through while Gail was still screaming. I hung up on my sister and answered my mother. The police came to my house. Police, Ina. At 7 in the morning. The neighbors saw everything. They're talking about pressing charges for theft. This is all your fault. How dare you? How dare you do this over a stupid birthday party? I hung up without saying a word to any of them. When I looked up, Lily was watching me with wide, frightened eyes. She'd heard everything. She'd seen the cold satisfaction on my face before I'd realized she was looking. Ina? Her voice was tiny. Are you mad at me? The name hit me like a slap. Not Mom. Just Ina. No, baby. Of course not. This has nothing to do with you. But she was already backing away from the table, leaving her untouched pancakes. You're scary right now. She ran to her room before I could stop her. Todd found me standing in the kitchen, staring at the closed door of Lily's room. My coffee had gone cold in my hands. What did you do last night? His voice was careful, controlled. That was worse than if he'd been yelling. What I had to do. Ina. What did you do? So I told him. Every detail. The years of documentation, the evidence I'd gathered, the emails I'd sent. I told him about the IRS, the police, Gail's employer. I told him everything. The color drained from his face. You reported your own family to the authorities? You had them arrested? They weren't arrested. Yet. They're being investigated for crimes they actually committed. That's not the point. The point is, you went nuclear over a birthday party. It wasn't just a birthday party. My voice rose for the first time. They've been cruel to Lily for 2 years. They deliberately humiliated her, hurt her, made her feel like she doesn't belong. So you destroy their lives? You commit crimes yourself? Anonymous tips with evidence you gathered through who knows what illegal means? Everything I found was obtained legally. Public records, security footage, documents from willing sources. That's not the point, and you know it. Todd ran his hands through his hair, pacing. Do you understand what you've done? You've terrified our daughter. Look at her, Ina. She won't come out of her room. She won't look at you. She's scared of you now. The words hung in the air between us. Before either of us could say anything else, banging erupted at our front door. Patricia's voice carried through the entire neighborhood. Ina, open this door right now. You open this door? Todd moved toward the entryway, but I grabbed his arm. Don't. We can't just ignore them. Watch me. But Todd shook off my hand and opened the door. Patricia, Frank, and Gail pushed inside before he could stop them. Our neighbors were on their porches, watching, some holding up phones to record. You've destroyed this family. Patricia's face was blotchy with rage and tears. 30 years your father built that business. 30 years! And you've destroyed it in one night. Frank looked older than I'd ever seen him. They're talking about criminal charges, Ina. Criminal. I could go to jail. My employees are losing their jobs. All because you couldn't handle a little honest talk. Honest talk? The words came out like acid. You called my daughter not really family. She isn't, Gail shrieked. That's just biology, Ina. That's just facts. And now I'm going to prison. Prison. Because you're too sensitive to handle reality. My children are going to grow up without a mother because you're petty and vindictive. Lily's door opened upstairs. We all heard it. She appeared at the top of the stairs, tears streaming down her face. Stop yelling. Stop it. This is all because of me. I shouldn't have called her Mom. I shouldn't have wanted a present. This is all my fault. She was sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. Todd ran up the stairs to her, but she flinched away from him too. Patricia pointed a shaking finger at me. Look what you've done. That child is traumatized. By you. Not by us. By you. Get out of my house. Gladly. But this isn't over. You'll pay for what you've done. I promise you that. They left, but not before Patricia made sure to say loudly enough for the gathering neighbors to hear. She turned in her own family, her own parents. What kind of monster does that? After they were gone, the house felt too quiet. Todd had gotten Lily back in her room, but I could hear her crying through the door. He came back downstairs, his face set and cold. I need to tell you something. He sat heavily on the couch. I should have told you months ago. My stomach dropped. Your mother has been calling me. For the last 6 months, having these long conversations about you, about Lily, about our family. What? She'd call when you were at work. She'd say she was worried about you, that you seemed obsessed with proving you were a real mother, that you were overcompensating, that maybe you needed help. And you believed her? No. I mean, not at first. But she was so convincing, Ina. So concerned. She'd say things like, "Don't you think Ina's been a bit too defensive about the adoption lately?" Or, "Have you noticed how she gets irrationally angry when anyone mentions biology?" I can't believe this. I met your father for coffee last week. Todd couldn't meet my eyes. They were talking about staging an intervention. They said you were becoming unstable, that your attachment to Lily was unhealthy. I didn't agree, but I told them I'd noticed you seemed stressed. I told them you'd been distant, preoccupied. I fed them information about you, Ina. I didn't mean to, but I did. The betrayal felt physical, like my chest was caving in. My own husband. I was worried. They made it sound so reasonable. They said they just wanted to help. They turned you against me. And you let them. A small voice from the stairs. You were talking about Ina? We both turned. Lily was standing there, still in her pajamas, her face streaked with tears. You told them she was crazy? You said she was obsessed with me? Todd went pale. Lily, sweetie, no, that's not what I meant. I was worried about your mom, that's all. You think she's obsessed with me. You think I'm a burden. Her voice was flat, hollow. Maybe Grandma Patricia was right. Maybe I'm not really family. She went back to her room. This time when the door closed, we heard the lock click. That night, Lily wet the bed for the first time in 3 years. The next morning, she wouldn't make eye contact with me. When I tried to talk to her, she called me Ina instead of Mom. Each time she said it, it felt like being stabbed. The certified letter arrived on a Tuesday. Patricia had retained an attorney. She was filing for grandparent visitation rights under state law, claiming I was alienating Lily from her family without cause. I sat at my kitchen table reading the legal documents, my hands shaking. The letter included affidavits from Frank, Gail, and 3 of Patricia's church friends. According to them, Patricia was a devoted, loving grandmother who'd been cruelly cut off from her grandchild due to my unstable mental state and vindictive nature. There was no mention of the birthday party, no mention of Patricia's cruelty. In their version, I'd simply snapped one day and destroyed the family for no reason. The most damning part was the reference to Todd. Even Mrs. Hayes's own husband has expressed concerns about her obsessive behavior regarding the adopted child. I called my adoption attorney Marcus immediately. He agreed to meet that same day. This is serious, he said after reviewing the documents. Grandparent rights cases are always complicated. The fact that Lily is showing signs of distress works against you. Distress I didn't cause, but distress that started after your actions, not before them. That's how they'll frame it. He was right. The timeline made me look guilty. Lily had been fine, then Patricia was cruel at the birthday party, then I retaliated, then Lily fell apart. Cause and effect, from a court's perspective, pointed straight at me. That same day, I got a call from Lily's school. They wanted an emergency meeting. The school counselor sat across from me and Todd, with her hands folded on her desk. A manila folder sat between us. Lily's behavior has changed significantly in the past 2 weeks, she began. Her grades are dropping. She's isolating herself from friends. And yesterday, in art class, she drew this. She slid a piece of paper across the desk. My breath caught. It was a family portrait, but everyone was frowning, drawn in dark colors. The sky was black. At the bottom, in Lily's careful handwriting, "Everyone's mad all the time now. When we asked her about it, She said she was scared to go home. She said people are angry and yelling, and things keep getting worse. We're dealing with a family situation, Todd tried to explain. Some conflict with extended family members. It's temporary. The counselor's expression didn't change. I understand. However, we have mandatory reporting obligations. When a child displays signs of distress this severe, we're required to ensure their safety. Are you saying you're calling CPS? I felt the room tilt. We're saying we're concerned. We've already provided you with information for a family therapist. We strongly recommend you begin sessions immediately. If Lily's condition doesn't improve, or if it worsens, we may need to file a formal report. She handed us a business card for Dr. Sharon Foster, family therapist. In the car, Todd and I sat in silence. Finally, he said, "We need to do the therapy." I know. Ina, what have we done to her? What I did, you mean? No. What we both did. I betrayed your trust. I fed information to your mother. I was part of this. But I could hear it in his voice. The blame. The resentment. This was my fault, and we both knew it. 2 days later, the doorbell rang at 9 in the morning. 2 women stood on my porch with badges and clipboards. "Mrs. Hayes? I'm Jennifer Park, and this is my colleague, Susan Miller. We're with Child Protective Services. May we come in?" Everything went numb. Of course. They were professional, polite, and thorough. They inspected every room. They checked the refrigerator, the smoke detectors, Lily's bedroom. They asked about our routine, our schedules, our disciplinary methods. "We received a report alleging possible neglect and emotional abuse," Jennifer explained. "From concerned family members. My mother. We can't disclose the source of the report. But we do need to speak with Lily. Alone, if possible." Lily was upstairs. When I called her down and explained who the women were, her eyes went huge with fear. She wouldn't speak at all, just shook her head when they asked if she could talk to them privately. "It's okay, sweetie," Susan said gently. "We just want to make sure you're safe and happy. You're not in trouble." But Lily pressed herself against the wall, completely silent. The selective mutism lasted the entire interview. The CPS workers made careful notes about it. After they inspected the house and attempted to talk to Lily, Jennifer turned to me with a concerned expression. "Mrs. Hayes, I want to be clear. We didn't find any evidence of neglect or abuse in your home. Everything appears clean, safe, and appropriate. However, your daughter is clearly in distress. That concerns us. She's in distress because my mother was cruel to her. I understand there's a family conflict. But your daughter's inability to communicate, her fearful behavior, these are red flags. We're going to keep this case open. We'll need to do a follow-up visit in 2 weeks. And I strongly recommend you engage with the family therapist the school provided. We have an appointment scheduled." "Good. Because if Lily's condition doesn't improve, we may need to consider other options." After they left, I found Lily hiding in her closet. She was curled into a ball, rocking slightly. "Baby, it's okay. They're gone. You're safe." She looked up at me with eyes full of terror and confusion. "Are they taking me away?" No, sweetheart, never." But I heard them. They said options. That means taking kids away, doesn't it? That's what happened to Sarah in my class. CPS came, and she went to a foster home. That's not going to happen to you, I promise. But I could see in her face that she didn't believe me. And honestly, I wasn't sure I believed it either. That evening, Todd packed a bag. "What are you doing?" "I need some space, Ina. I need to think." "You're leaving? Now? When CPS is investigating us?" "I'm leaving because I can't think straight in this house. Everything is falling apart. Our daughter is traumatized. Your family is out for blood. CPS is involved. My wife committed crimes that could land her in prison. Reporting actual crimes isn't a crime, Todd. Isn't it? Where did you get those documents? How did you obtain that security footage? Did you hack computers? Bribe people? Break into offices? I used public records and information from willing sources." "You're lying. I can see it in your face. You did something illegal, and when it comes out, you could go to jail. And then what happens to Lily? So you're abandoning us. I'm protecting our daughter. He zipped his suitcase closed. I love you, Ina. But I don't recognize you anymore. What you did to your family, the way you did it, the pleasure you took in their destruction, it scared me. And clearly, it scared Lily too. They were cruel to our daughter. I know. And they deserved consequences. But not like this. Not this scorched earth devastation. You could have cut them off. You could have filed a restraining order. You could have done a dozen different things. But you chose nuclear war. And now we're all living in the fallout. He kissed Lily goodbye. She clung to him, whispering, "Don't leave me here with her. Please, Daddy." The words shattered something in me. Todd's eyes filled with tears, but he gently disentangled himself. "I'll see you soon, sweetheart. I'm just staying at Uncle Ben's house for a little while. I'll pick you up for dinner tomorrow, okay?" After he left, the house felt cavernous and empty. Lily went to her room without being asked. I heard her crying through the door, but when I knocked, she told me to go away. The next morning, I got another call. My boss at the tech company, where I worked as a project manager. "Ina, I need you to come in. HR wants to meet with you." At the office, my boss and the HR director sat across from me with identical expressions of concern and suspicion. "We've received some troubling calls," the HR director began. "Anonymous callers claiming you're involved in illegal activities, saying you're unstable and potentially dangerous." My mother, of course. "We have to take these allegations seriously. We're placing you on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. You're suspending me? Paid leave. For now. But we need to verify that there are no legal issues that could impact the company or expose us to liability." I walked out of that office with everyone staring. Whispers followed me to my car. I'd lost my husband. My daughter wouldn't look at me. CPS was investigating me. My job was in jeopardy. My family was actively trying to destroy my life. And the worst part? I'd done this to myself. I'd lit the match and watched everything burn, and now I was burning too. The next 2 weeks were the darkest of my life. I was home all day with Lily, who barely spoke to me. She'd gotten quiet in a way that worried me more than screaming would have. She ate when told to, did her homework when reminded, but moved through the house like a ghost. Dr. Sharon Foster, the family therapist, saw Lily 3 times a week. After each session, Dr. Sharon would update me in the vague, professionally careful way therapists do when they can't share details. "She's processing significant trauma." Is she talking about Patricia? She's talking about many things. The CPS worker, Jennifer, came for her second visit. She noted that the house was still clean and safe, but also noted that Lily became visibly tense when I entered the room. "Mrs. Hayes, has your daughter disclosed anything to you about the alleged abuse by her grandmother?" "No. She won't talk to me about anything." Jennifer made a note. "I'm going to be frank with you. Your daughter exhibits classic signs of trauma, but the timeline concerns me. Her distress began after your actions against your family, not before. That's a red flag. She's distressed because our whole family imploded, because her father left, because strangers keep coming to our house asking if she feels safe. I understand this is difficult, but from our perspective, we have to consider all possibilities, including that your daughter's trauma is related to recent events in this household, not events that preceded them." After Jennifer left, I sat alone in my kitchen and cried for the first time since this started. Not angry tears or frustrated tears, but deep, hopeless sobs that came from somewhere I couldn't control. Todd visited Lily every other day. He'd pick her up, take her to dinner or a movie, bring her back. She was always happy when she left with him, and devastated when she returned to me. The message was clear. Dad was safe. Home with Ina was not. The legal bills piled up. $15,000 for Marcus, my attorney. $3,000 for Dr. Sharon. My savings account was draining at an alarming rate, and I was still on administrative leave without knowing when or if I'd return to work. Marcus called with the discovery documents for the upcoming custody hearing. Patricia's lawyer had built a devastating case against me. There were affidavits from neighbors describing the disturbing scene at my house when Patricia, Frank, and Gail showed up shouting. There were reports from the school counselor about Lily's deteriorating behavior. There were CPS reports documenting Lily's fear and her bedwetting regression. There were character witnesses, Patricia's church friends, all testifying to her loving, grandmotherly nature. Most damning, there were text messages between Todd and Patricia. Months of conversations where my own husband had expressed doubts about my mental state. She's been obsessed with proving she's Lily's real mother. Sometimes she seems irrationally defensive about the adoption. I'm worried about her attachment to Lily. It seems unhealthy. Reading Todd's words to my mother felt like dying slowly. He'd given Patricia ammunition, and she was using it to take my daughter. The case Patricia was making was simple and effective. Grandmother made innocent comment about adoption at birthday party. Daughter overreacted with extreme, criminal actions. Daughter's own husband concerned about mental state. Child now traumatized and distressed. Grandmother just wants relationship with grandchild she loves. This is bad, Marcus said during our meeting. They've made you look unhinged and dangerous. Your daughter's behavioral changes support their narrative. What do I do? Settle. Agree to supervised visitation. Show the court you're reasonable. If you fight this and lose, the judge could order unsupervised visitation. Or worse, could open a full custody evaluation. I won't let that woman near Lily. Then you need to understand what you're risking. With the evidence they have, with your daughter's current state, with Todd's statements, you could lose custody entirely. I stared at my lawyer, trying to process what he was saying. I could lose my daughter? It's a possibility. Not a likelihood, but a real possibility. Especially if things get worse. Which brings me to my next point. You need to tell me the truth about how you obtained the evidence against your family. Did you do anything illegal? I hesitated too long. Ina, I can't help you if I don't know what we're dealing with. Everything I found was from public sources, or willing informants. You're lying to your attorney. That's not smart. He was right, of course. But I couldn't admit that I'd hacked into my father's business accounts, bribed a security guard for Patricia's shoplifting footage, and convinced Gail's coworker to steal bank records. The methods I'd used would bury me if they came to light. I checked my bank account that night. Enough money for maybe 2 more months. After that, I'd need to sell the house. But Marcus said moving would make me look like a flight risk, could hurt my case. I was trapped in every possible way. At 10:30 that night, Lily screamed. I ran to her room to find her sitting up in bed, tears streaming down her face, hyperventilating. Baby, what's wrong? Bad dream? For the first time in weeks, she reached for me. I held her while she sobbed into my shoulder, her small body shaking. Don't let Grandma take me. Please don't let her take me. Never, baby. Never. Promise? Promise she can't have me? He promise. When she finally calmed down enough to talk, she said something that made my blood run cold. Ina, I need to tell you something. About Grandma Patricia. What is it, sweetheart? She used to hurt me. Before the birthday party. For a long time. I pulled back to look at her face. What do you mean? Hurt you? She'd pinch me. Really hard. When you weren't looking, it hurt so much. And she'd whisper mean things. She'd say I wasn't real family. She'd say I was just pretending to be her granddaughter. She'd say you would get tired of me eventually, and send me away. Rage and heartbreak warred in my chest. Why didn't you tell me, baby? Because Grandma said it would make you sad. She said it would hurt your feelings if you knew she didn't like me. So I didn't say anything. I didn't want to make you sad. My 8-year-old daughter had been protecting me from the truth about my mother's abuse. She'd endured 2 years of cruelty in silence to spare my feelings. I called Marcus immediately, despite the late hour. This is significant, he said. But we have a problem. Why is she only disclosing this now? The court will question the timing. It looks convenient. She's 8 years old. She was trying to protect me. I believe you, but Patricia's lawyer will argue you coached her. They'll say the disclosure only came after you realized you were losing the custody case. You need to have Dr. Sharon evaluate Lily about this immediately. A professional assessment will carry more weight than a private disclosure. The next morning, I took Lily to an emergency session with Dr. Sharon. After an hour alone with Lily, Dr. Sharon asked to speak with me. Lily has disclosed physical and emotional abuse by Patricia. The disclosure pattern is concerning from a forensic standpoint, I have to admit. But I believe her. The details she provided are consistent with genuine abuse, not coached testimony. Will you testify to that? Yes. But I want you to understand that this will be challenged. The defense will question why Lily never mentioned this before. They'll point to her current distress and argue she's been influenced by the family conflict. So even my daughter's truth will be questioned. Unfortunately, yes. Children's testimony is always complicated, especially in high-conflict custody cases. That afternoon, a process server arrived at my door with divorce papers. Todd was filing for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences and breakdown of trust, requesting joint custody with him as primary residential parent, claiming my behavior had created an unsafe environment for Lily. His affidavit detailed everything: his concerns about my vendetta against my family, his belief that my actions had caused Lily's trauma, his statement that he loved me, but had to protect our daughter first. I sat on my living room floor with the divorce papers scattered around me, and understood, finally, that I'd lost everything: my husband, my mother, father, and sister, though I'd wanted to lose them. My job, probably. My reputation in the community, definitely. My financial security. And possibly, probably, my daughter. I'd set out to protect Lily, and instead I'd destroyed both our lives. I couldn't just react anymore. I needed a strategy. I needed evidence. I needed to fight back properly this time. I took out a credit card I'd been saving for emergencies and hired a private investigator. His name was Jerome, a retired police detective with 30 years of experience. He came recommended by Marcus. I need you to investigate my mother, father, and sister thoroughly. I need to know everything about them. I also need to find out how my mother obtained my daughter's therapy records illegally. Jerome was in his 60s, gray, haired, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. This is a family case? Custody battle. My mother is trying to take my daughter. She's built a case that makes me look unstable, but she's the one who abused my daughter for years. I need proof. Mrs. Hayes, I'll be straight with you. This could take weeks and cost thousands, and I might not find anything useful. I have to try. All right, I'll start with public records, interview people who know them, see what I can dig up. No promises. While Jerome worked, I started documenting everything myself. Every nightmare Lily had, I recorded the time and what she said. Every fearful moment, every mention of Patricia, I wrote it down in detail. I created a timeline of Lily's behavioral changes, noting when things started and how they'd progressed. A week later, I had the mandatory mediation session. It was a disaster. Patricia arrived looking fragile and sad, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. The mediator, a pleasant woman in her 50s named Carol, tried to facilitate a conversation about reconciliation. Mrs. Patterson, can you explain what you're hoping to achieve through this process? Patricia's voice quavered. I just want to see my granddaughter. I love Lily so much. Yes, I made a thoughtless comment at her birthday party, and I deeply regret it. I was having a difficult day and I spoke without thinking. But I never imagined my daughter would react so extremely. Frank, sitting beside Patricia, nodded gravely. My business is ruined. 15 employees lost their jobs because of what my daughter did. All over one comment. The mediator turned to me. Mrs. Hayes, how do you respond? My mother didn't make one comment. She's been emotionally and physically abusing my daughter for 2 years. Pinching her, whispering cruel things, making her feel unwanted and unloved. Patricia gasped dramatically. That's completely false. I've always adored that child. I have photos, years of photos, of us together at family gatherings. She pulled out a photo album. Pictures of her hugging Lily at Christmas, at Easter, at various family events. Carefully curated images that told the story Patricia wanted to tell. My daughter is making up these abuse allegations because she knows she went too far. She destroyed our family, and now she's trying to justify it. The mediator looked at me. Do you have any evidence of this alleged abuse? My daughter's testimony. My daughter's word should be enough. But the timing is concerning, isn't it? This disclosure only came after CPS got involved. After you were facing a custody challenge? She was 8 years old. She was protecting me. She didn't want to hurt my feelings. Patricia's lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Miss Rodriguez, spoke up. My client is willing to undergo supervised visitation. She's willing to participate in family therapy. She's willing to do whatever it takes to rebuild the relationship with her granddaughter. All she's asking for is a chance. It made Patricia look reasonable, flexible, willing to compromise. I looked inflexible and paranoid by comparison. After 2 hours of mediation, Carol, the mediator, said she'd be writing a report for the court. I could tell from her expression that the report would favor Patricia. That same week, Dr. Sharon asked to meet with me alone. I need to discuss something sensitive about Lily's disclosures. My stomach dropped. Lily has been telling me about Patricia's alleged abuse. I want to be clear. I believe something happened. But I have concerns about the disclosure pattern. What does that mean? In legitimate abuse cases, children usually disclose gradually, a little bit at a time. Lily's disclosure was sudden and detailed. It came at a time when you were facing a custody challenge. From a forensic standpoint, that pattern is concerning. Are you saying she's lying? No. I'm saying the situation is complex. Lily is clearly traumatized, but I can't definitively say whether she's traumatized by Patricia's past abuse or by the current family conflict. It's possible, given everything that's happened, the divorce, CPS, the fighting, that Lily has created a narrative to explain why her life fell apart. She's 8 years old. 8-year-olds are very attuned to parent emotions. They pick up on tensions. Could Lily be telling you what she thinks you want to hear? I left that appointment feeling like the ground had disappeared beneath my feet. Even the therapist doubted my daughter's story. 3 days later, Jerome called. I've got my initial findings. Some bad news, and some good news. Start with the bad. Your mother looks clean in the community. Active in her church, volunteers at the food bank. People speak highly of her. Your father's business had legitimate issues, so reporting him wasn't false. Your sister did embezzle funds, so that report was accurate too. So from the outside, you look vindictive but not wrong. And the good news? I found out how your mother got those therapy records. Her lawyer obtained them through an illegal hack of Dr. Sharon's email system. I can prove it. Digital fingerprints trace back to a computer at your sister's house. Gail hacked the email? Looks like it. That's criminal. Could get the evidence thrown out and potentially lead to charges against your sister and your mother's lawyer. What else? I found 3 other families your mother alienated from over the years. Most interesting is your father's sister, Carol. 20 years ago, Carol questioned your mother's parenting methods. Patricia turned the whole family against her. Cut Carol out completely. I tracked Carol down. She's willing to testify about your mother's pattern of manipulation and control. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of hope. There's more, Jerome continued. Your mother has been seeing a psychiatrist for years. Medical privacy laws protect most of it, but we might be able to subpoena her records if we can show relevance to the custody case. Do it. Subpoena everything. That night, my doorbell rang at 11. I opened it to find Gail standing there, looking worse than I'd ever seen her. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, her eyes red and swollen. Can I come in? Please? Every instinct told me to slam the door, but something in her face stopped me. Why? I need to tell you something. I need to tell you the truth. I let her in, but stayed between her and the stairs where Lily was sleeping. Gail collapsed onto my couch and started crying. I'm going to prison, Ina. Real prison. Brandon left me. He took Tyler, Ethan, and Madison. I've lost everything. Is this supposed to make me feel sorry for you? No. I need you to understand. Mom made me do it. She made me hack Dr. Sharon's email. She said it was to protect the family. She said you were trying to destroy us and we had to fight back. You could have said no. You don't understand what she's like. She's always been like this. She gets inside your head and makes you think you're doing the right thing, even when you know it's wrong. Why are you here, Gail? Because I'm going to prison and Mom isn't facing any consequences. She orchestrated all of this. She manipulated Dad. She manipulated me. She manipulated Todd. She's been pulling strings for years, and the rest of us just danced. So I'll testify. Against her. I'll tell the court everything. How she was cruel to Lily. How she planned this whole custody thing. How she coached Dad and me on what to say. All of it. I'll tell the truth. Why would you do that now? Because I'm losing my kids, Ina. Brandon won't let me see them unsupervised. They're going to grow up knowing their mother is a criminal. And for what? To protect Mom? She doesn't care about me. She never did. She only cares about control. About winning. I studied my sister's face, looking for the lie, the trap. What do you want in return? Help with my legal situation. A good word to the prosecutor. Character reference. Something. Anything. I'll think about it. After Gail left, I sat in the dark living room for hours. Was this real or another manipulation? Could I trust anything my sister said? But Jerome had found evidence of Patricia's pattern. Dr. Sharon believed Lily had been abused. Aunt Carol was willing to testify. Maybe, just maybe, I had enough to fight back. Maybe I could still win. Marcus worked fast once he had Jerome's findings and Gail's offer to testify. He subpoenaed Patricia's psychiatric records, which required a legal battle, but the judge ultimately allowed it due to the relevance to the custody case. The records were damning. Patricia had been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder 15 years ago. Her therapist's notes documented a pattern of manipulation, a need for absolute control, and specific resentment toward children not born to the family. There were notes about Patricia's traumatic miscarriage before I was born, and how it had affected her relationship with me. Patient reports difficulty bonding with biological daughter, views her as reminder of loss. There were notes about her opposition to my adoption of Lily. Patient expresses anger that daughter gets to play mother with adopted child when patient could not have more biological children. It painted a picture of a woman whose mental illness had poisoned family relationships for decades. Aunt Carol gave a detailed deposition about how Patricia had systematically isolated her from the family 20 years ago. The pattern was identical. Someone questioned Patricia. Patricia turned the family against them. Person was cut off completely. The evidence was mounting, but Marcus warned me not to celebrate yet. Patricia will argue medical privacy violation. She'll play the victim again. We need to be strategic. The court date was set for 3 weeks out. Multiple issues would be decided. The grandparent visitation petition, the custody evaluation request, and criminal charges for the illegal hack of therapy records. Then Todd showed up unexpectedly one afternoon while Lily was at school. I need to talk to you. We sat in the living room, the space between us feeling like miles. I've been seeing a therapist, he said, working through everything that happened. And I've realized something. Patricia manipulated me. For months. Maybe years. He showed me text messages going back over a year. I'd never seen them before. Patricia had been planting seeds of doubt about me long before the adoption was even finalized. Don't you think Ina is too anxious about this adoption? Has she seemed more emotional than usual lately? I worry that she's setting herself up for disappointment with this child. The messages were subtle, careful, designed to look like concern while actually undermining me. She made me doubt you, Todd said, his voice breaking. She made me doubt our family. Every insecurity I had about being a father to an adopted child, she exploited. Every normal stress in our marriage, she amplified. I was so stupid. Why are you telling me this now? Because I was wrong. About everything. I want to withdraw the divorce petition. I want to come home. I want to testify against Patricia about how she manipulated me. I looked at my husband. This man I'd loved for 10 years, who'd abandoned me when I needed him most. The hurt doesn't just go away because you realized you were manipulated. I know. I'm not asking you to forgive me instantly. I'm asking for a chance to fix this. to be the husband and father I should have been. I'll think about it. But honestly, I didn't know if I could ever trust him again. 2 days before the scheduled court hearing, Patricia made her final desperate move. I was picking Lily up from school when I saw Patricia in the parking lot. She wasn't supposed to be there. There was a no-contact order in place. But there she was, kneeling beside Lily near the bike racks. "Hi, sweetheart. Grandma has missed you so much." Lily was frozen, her face pale with fear. I ran across the parking lot. "Get away from her!" Patricia grabbed Lily's arm. "I just want a hug. I just want to tell her I love her." I pulled Lily away, holding her behind me. Patricia's face twisted and she started screaming. "She's kidnapping her. Someone help me. That's my granddaughter. She won't let me see her." Other parents stopped and stared. Several pulled out phones to record. School security came running out. Patricia was playing to the audience, crying dramatically. "This is my granddaughter. I have rights. She's keeping me from her." I showed the security guard our no-contact order. "She's violating a court order. She needs to leave now." It took 2 security guards to escort Patricia off school property. The whole time, she screamed about her rights, about me being cruel, about just wanting to see her grandchild. Lily was shaking in my arms. Multiple parents had recorded the entire scene. That evening, Patricia's lawyer sent an emergency motion, claiming I had violated Patricia's rights by aggressively removing Lily from a chance encounter in a public place. Marcus reviewed the videos from other parents. "This actually helps us. You can clearly see Lily's fear. You can see Patricia grab her. You handled it correctly. But Patricia's desperation scared me. What would she do next?" The night before court, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, reviewing everything that had happened. I'd started this by trying to protect my daughter. It had spiraled into losing everything. But now, finally, I had evidence. I had witnesses. I had truth on my side. I checked on Lily, sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks. Dr. Sharon said her nightmares had decreased. She was starting to call me mom again sometimes. Small signs of healing. Todd was sleeping on the couch. He'd moved back in to present a united front for court, but we were far from reconciled. Still, he was trying. Maybe that counted for something. I thought about Patricia and everything she'd done. The years of cruelty. The manipulation. The abuse. Was my revenge worth the cost? Yes, because if I hadn't acted, Patricia would have continued hurting Lily. Maybe for years, maybe forever. Sometimes protecting someone means burning everything down. At 6 a.m, my phone rang. It was Marcus. "Patricia's in the hospital. Apparent suicide attempt. Overdose on sleeping pills. She's alive, but in psychiatric hold." Is this real or another manipulation? I don't know. But it changes things. The court hearing is postponed pending psychiatric evaluation. 3 hours later, Marcus called again. "You're not going to believe this. While Patricia was in the hospital psychiatric unit, she confessed everything to the staff psychiatrist. Said she couldn't help hurting Lily. Said seeing you with a child, when she couldn't have more kids herself, was unbearable. The psychiatrist is a mandatory reporter. She filed a report with the judge. Patricia confessed to years of emotional and physical abuse, to manipulating her family, to orchestrating the custody battle. All of it. Her own words condemn her." I sat down hard on my kitchen floor. After weeks of fighting, after gathering evidence, after nearly losing everything, Patricia had handed me the victory herself in a moment of breakdown. So what happens now? We go to court in 2 weeks when she's released from psychiatric care. But Ina, this basically wins your case. Her own confession to abuse. Professional documentation. It's over. The hearing happened on a cold morning in November. Patricia was there, recently released from the psychiatric hospital. She looked smaller somehow, diminished, medicated, and exhausted. The courtroom was formal and intimidating. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Judge Martinez, reviewed all the evidence methodically. She read through Patricia's psychiatric records. Gail's testimony about the hacking and the witnessed abuse. Aunt Carol's testimony about the pattern of family manipulation. Jerome's investigation findings. The videos from the school incident. Dr. Sharon's evaluation confirming Lily had been truthful about the abuse. Todd's testimony about being manipulated. And finally, Patricia's own confession to the hospital psychiatrist. Patricia's lawyer tried to argue mental illness as a defense. Your Honor, my client was unwell. She didn't understand the harm she was causing. She wants treatment. She wants to make amends. Marcus countered. This wasn't momentary illness, Your Honor. This was a calculated pattern of abuse spanning years. Criminal activity through her daughter. Manipulation of multiple family members. Violation of a no contact order. Mrs. Patterson's mental health diagnosis doesn't excuse her actions. It explains them, but doesn't excuse them. Judge Martinez asked Patricia to stand. Mrs. Patterson, I'm going to ask you directly. Why did you treat your granddaughter the way you did? Patricia was silent for a long moment. Then, in a flat, exhausted voice, she told the truth. I was jealous. My daughter got to be a mother when I couldn't have more children after her. I lost a baby before Ina was born, and it broke something in me. Every time I saw Ina with Lily, happy and complete, I was reminded of what I lost. So I wanted to punish them both. I wanted them to hurt the way I hurt. The courtroom went completely silent. Even her own lawyer looked shocked. Judge Martinez took a recess. When she returned 30 minutes later, her expression was set and serious. I'm denying the petition for grandparent visitation. Permanently. The no contact order will remain in place, indefinitely. Mrs. Patterson is prohibited from any contact with the minor child, directly or indirectly. I'm also referring this matter to the prosecutor's office for potential criminal charges related to the illegal access of therapy records. She turned to me. Mrs. Hayes, while I have concerns about the methods you used in reporting your family members to authorities, I find that your instincts regarding your daughter's safety were correct. The CPS case against you is closed with a finding of unfounded. Your daughter was being abused, and you protected her. That matters. Outside the courthouse, I broke down completely. Todd held me while I cried, years of tension and fear finally releasing. Lily was there too, holding my hand so tight. Is it really over, Mom? Mom, not Ina. Mom. Yeah, baby. It's really over. You're safe now. Reporters were asking questions. Local news had followed the case. Marcus made a brief statement. Justice was served today. Child protection is paramount, and the court recognized that. Frank approached us, looking 20 years older than he had 3 months ago. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know what she was really doing to Lily. I believed her lies for so long. I'm sorry. It was too little, too late. But I nodded acknowledgement. Gail was there facing her own sentencing next month. Because of her cooperation, she'd receive a reduced sentence. Probably 2 years instead of 5. Brandon was bringing the kids to visit her in prison. Their family was broken but slowly healing. Some community members who'd judged me harshly came up to apologize. Others just stared. I didn't care anymore. I had what mattered. My work called 2 days later. The internal investigation cleared me. Patricia's harassment had been documented. They wanted me back with retroactive pay for my leave. I told them I'd think about it. I was considering a fresh start somewhere new. The weeks that followed were about rebuilding. Lily went to therapy twice a week and made real progress. The nightmares stopped. She became physically affectionate again, climbing into my lap to read books, holding my hand without being asked. One afternoon, she handed me a letter she'd written with Dr. Sharon's help. Dear Mom, thank you for protecting me even when it was really hard. Thank you for believing me when I told you the truth about Grandma. You're my real mom, the only mom I need. I love you forever and ever. Love, Lily. I framed it and kept it on my nightstand where I could see it every morning. Todd and I started couples therapy. The road ahead was long. Trust, once broken, doesn't just magically repair. But we were both committed to trying. He proved himself through daily actions, being present, being supportive, acknowledging his mistakes without excuses. One night, months after the court case, We sat on the porch, while Lily played in the yard with a new friend from school. Would you do it all again? Todd asked quietly, knowing what it cost. I thought about it carefully. Yes. Every painful moment. Every loss. Every fight. Because Lily is safe now. Because Patricia can't hurt her anymore. Protecting your child isn't always clean or easy. Sometimes it's messy and devastating and costs you almost everything. But it's always worth it. I'd learned that family isn't always about blood. Blood can be poison. True family is built on love, protection, and unwavering support. I chose Lily over my blood family, and it was the best decision I ever made. Todd squeezed my hand. I'm sorry I doubted you. I'm sorry I let her manipulate me. I know. We're working on it. Do you think we'll make it, our marriage? I think we might, if we both keep trying. If we both commit to being better. 6 months later, we renewed our vows in a small ceremony in our backyard. Just us, Lily, Todd's family, and a few close friends. No blood family, no drama. Just love and new beginnings. Lily was our flower girl. She wore a white dress with yellow flowers and carried a basket of rose petals. When the officiant asked if anyone objected to the union, Lily shouted, "No way," and everyone laughed. Life wasn't perfect. Todd and I still had hard days. Lily still occasionally had nightmares. I still had moments of anger about everything that happened. But we were healing, together. I never saw or heard from Patricia again. The no contact order remained in place. I heard through Aunt Carol that Patricia was still in therapy, still taking medication, still claiming she'd been misunderstood. Some people never change. Frank sent a card on Lily's 9th birthday. Simple, brief, "Happy birthday, Lily." I'm sorry for everything. I let Lily decide if she wanted to respond. She didn't. What I learned through all of this is that protecting the people you love sometimes requires impossible choices. Sometimes it means losing other people you thought you loved. Sometimes it means looking like the villain to everyone watching. But when you're lying awake at night, when you're looking at your child sleeping peacefully, when you're holding them close, you know the truth. You did what you had to do. You protected what mattered most. And that has to be enough. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had to make an impossible choice to protect someone you love? Have you ever had to stand up to family members who were toxic or abusive, knowing it might cost you everything? How did you find the strength to do what was right, even when it was hard? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who's facing a similar situation. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think about family, loyalty, and protection, please hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about real people facing real challenges. And share this with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who might be struggling with toxic family dynamics or difficult choices about protecting their children. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope wherever you are, whoever you're protecting, you find the strength to do what's right. Take care of yourselves and the people you love. They're worth fighting for, even when the fight costs you everything.